Hello gorgeous people, how are you all doing? I hope you're well. I'm sort of carrying on from the last video when I was ironing. That went on for a bit longer than I anticipated and then more after the video, but anyway, yeah, it's done. So now I'm having a little bit of a sit down breather before I plough into the next job. I've forgotten what the next job is already, it's on a list, that's fine. So yeah, I thought we'd have a nice little bit of a chatty catch up back in this corner of the room, which has been out of access for the last 4 weeks because of all the kitchen stuff. The freezer, it's still there, gradually emptying it, and then it will go too. Otherwise, it's lovely to have the living room looking sort of normal again. The sewing machine is back on the sewing machine table. I don't know how much sewing I'm going to get done in any time too soon, but it's there and it's ready. I have got some fabric cut, so I might just put the fabric out, and then of an evening, if it gets to 10 o'clock and I feel too tired to do anything standy-uppy, I can just go and sit at the machine and sew for half an hour. Good. So, one of the things, I've got a book, I've got some TV, YouTube viewing to catch you up on, but the big thing in the last few days is a lovely visit to my sister. Oh, it was wonderful. I didn't take my camera with me. It was a very short visit, just 3 days, so you know what, I'm going to be too busy with my sis and my brother-in-law to film, but it was gorgeous. And oh my goodness, first of all, the train ride. It takes a couple of hours to get up there from my London train station. It actually takes nearly 2 hours from my house to get across London to the station, from which I then travel to her. But that train journey is so lovely because, within minutes we are out of London, we're outside of the kind of the urban setting, and we're into countryside straight away. So it was gorgeous travelling up. And what was interesting, I was doing a lot of observing from the windows. I did read a bit, but then, I don't know, after about 20 minutes, I put my book down because what was being played out through the windows was far more interesting than my book. I did note, as we travelled north, the stage of the lambs as we went further north. They're much younger in the north than they are in the south, maybe only by a couple of weeks, but it's just, we're a bit warmer down here. I was looking at hedgerows and field margins, bearing in mind a lot of the reading I've done this winter in terms of, agriculture, where we're at now with agriculture, in terms of biodiversity and leaving those field margins for wild. So yeah, it was really interesting to look at all that, having done that reading this winter. And a lot of the hedgerows, I was looking at hedgerows in particular and thinking, there's a lot of hawthorn. It's one of our staples for a hedgerow. Now, obviously, I'm viewing from a train at speed, so I didn't get a close-up look, but I could tell a lot of it was hawthorn, not very mixed. A few of the hedges, they did have some trees every now and again. I saw some elder. Not enough. But what was lovely, it was literally 3 days later coming back. It had been a gorgeous 3 days of sunshine, so much sunshine and warmth after all that rain. You could tell that everything was right on the cusp of bursting, because on the way back, suddenly all these hedgerows were awash with their first blossoms. Gorgeous. So all these kind of brown, not even green, these brown hedgerows, on the way home, they looked white with all the blossom. Gorgeous. I think it's one of the most gorgeous train rides. Well, oh my goodness, no, there's so many gorgeous train rides in the UK. The one along the south coast to Cornwall is magnificent, particularly near Dawlish. I was going to say I've forgotten, but it's near Dawlish, where the train track is right next to the sea. That's the bit of track that got washed away in the storms of 5 years ago, 10 years ago, I've forgotten. Anyway, it doesn't matter. But yeah, once you get to, on the East Coast line, once you get to Yorkshire, if you're going up to Edinburgh, it's one of the most beautiful train rides you can imagine. Take that train ride between York and Edinburgh, not because you're going to go anywhere or see anyone. Take it purely for the view from the train. And when you get into Northumberland, the beaches, oh mon Dieu, white sand, long white sand beaches, just gorgeous. The nasty trick though is it's freezing cold for swimming. If you want to swim up there, well, certainly I'd wear a wetsuit. It's, for me, those beaches are so gorgeous, you want to get into the sea and bathe, but it is really cold. Anyway, yeah, so the train was lovely. And so now my sister and brother-in-law have been really, really kind of under the cosh recently. They've had a lot going on, pretty kind of stressy stuff, dealing with all sorts of stuff. So instead of them coming to pick me up from the station, my cousin's wife did. So my cousin Ben, who I've spoken about sometimes, he's doing the life that I wish I was doing. He is a barn builder. He builds in green oak. So he does barn building, dry stone walling, hedge laying. Recently, quite a lot of work. He's been doing a lot of work on sort of historic building restoration. So if that historic building has got oak, any kind of oak structure to it, he's your man. He's in there fixing it. So his wife picked me up, and that was lovely too. It's very simple stuff, isn't it? Where my sister lives isn't actually near a train station. It's about half an hour, 40 minutes drive from the nearest train station. They are way in nowhere in the Yorkshire moors, North York moors. So having that lift from her was great because we got to have a bit of a catch up, and she's a horsey lass. She's got a new horse. Her old horse sadly died, so she's got this new one that she's trying to sort of bring on. She rides side saddle. She's a side saddle expert, jumps in side saddle. What's beautiful is for their wedding, I can't remember if I've ever told you this, but it's so cute. So my cousin used to be into sidecar racing, motorcycle sidecar racing. So for their wedding, his best man, they had a vintage motorcycle and sidecar. His best man was riding the motorcycle, and my cousin, in his finery, was in the sidecar. So they're coming to the wedding from one direction. Meanwhile, his bride-to-be, she was on her horse, side saddle, in the most beautiful Victorian-style tweed riding habit. It was a new thing. That was her wedding dress, was a tweed Victorian riding habit. My cousin was also in tweed. Tweed was a bit of a theme of the wedding. But she galloped to her own wedding. It makes me get emotional. The pictures are so beautiful. But she galloped to the wedding on her horse. So outside the church, there was someone there to hold on to the horse while she went inside and got married to my cousin. So cute. Anyway, so that was lovely. Even before I've got to my sister, it's so lovely because we're having a catch up about the new horse, and the new horse seems to have a lot of character, let's just say that. She's got her hands full with that one. And then this lovely visit with my sister. Now, before I went, because I know they've been under so much stress recently. And a few days before, she was kind of getting worried because I'm vegetarian. What to feed a vegetarian? What are we going to do? So I said, you know what? I'll do all the cooking. I don't want my visit to make more work for you two. Let me just come and I'll just sidle in quietly. Let me cook. So that was the agreement. I would do all the cooking. So I did a little bit in London before I went. Plus took a few ingredients. My suitcase looked like a refrigerator. I think I had like clean knickers and socks and clean t-shirts, and that was it. The rest was food. But it worked out great. So for me, it was a joy because I love sharing my food. It's very simple stuff, but sharing food, it's an act of love, isn't it? cooking, I know what it feels like when someone cooks for me. It's like, oh, it's the best day ever, isn't it? When someone's taking charge of the cooking and the washing up and you just get to sit there and eat. Oh, it's just wonderful. So for me, it was a joy to do that, both in terms of sharing my recipes and, of course, so much of it was my own produce. Just knowing that I'm giving them a bit of time off and a bit of time out from this chaos. We all get to eat really nicely and well, and yeah, just lovely. So, I mean, it made me, my suitcase made me laugh. It was a fridge on wheels. What was lovely as well was, I think one night I did fasolada, which is Greek bean stew. Sorry, excuse me a minute. I did Greek bean stew with my gorgeous gigantes beans, and some of them were whoppers. I had a smallish harvest last year, but the harvest I got was fantastic. So we're all scoffing away, and my brother-in-law said, "What are these beans?" So I explained them, and I explained how in the UK they weren't the easiest beans or seeds to find, but I'd been given a handful of, 10 originally from a Greek friend about 10 years ago. Yeah, they're a bit tricky to find, but if you can find them, they're well worth it. He thought they were growing like a broad bean. I was like, no, it's like a runner bean. They look like a runner bean, so not too much space. So we chatted about it as we were eating. And then after dinner, although, hang on, I went up north. We don't call it dinner, we call it tea. There's me thinking, planning meals for lunch and dinner. Okay, revert to my northern roots. I'm planning meals for dinner and tea. Anyway, I digress. So yeah, after dinner / tea, he was scrolling on his phone. I said, "What are you looking at?" He's looking to find seeds for gigantes. Yay! Because he's got an allotment. They do grow a bit of food at home. They've got a lovely garden, beautiful lawn. Oh my goodness, the lawn is immaculate. And they have flower beds and, that sort of thing. But they do grow quite a bit at home, like mostly fruit, but some veggies. But then there's the allotment. So I'm chuffed if I've introduced my brother-in-law to something new, because he's been doing it a long time. He's been at it on the allotment longer than me. So I love the idea that I've introduced him to something new. And this year, maybe, he'll be growing gigantes. And then next time I visit, well, actually they won't have grown by then, but they can think, we don't need to stress about what to feed the hippie veggie girl. We can give her fasolada with gigantes beans. So that was lovely. I did a few soups. I did my courgette and potato soup, and actually, I didn't make that for us. I made it for the next day after I'd be gone, and my sister texted to say, "Oh my goodness, it was lovely." So I messaged back. I said, "Do you want the recipe? It's dead easy and it's great for a glut of courgettes." "Yes, please." So I've sent the recipe. It's just lovely to. It's lovely to share my produce, share my recipes, have them appreciated, and have them appreciated so much that they want the recipe or they want the seeds to grow the same thing in order to make that recipe in the future. Yay! The meals were lovely. I don't mean that as in like, oh, I'm a great cook, the meals are lovely. I mean, the meals were lovely because they could relax a bit and I was happy to do the bits and bobs. Also on food, because I made a few notes, because we're not long after Easter. Now, my sister is a fantastic baker in terms of cakes. She doesn't do bread, he does the bread. She's the most amazing cake maker. And she'd made for Easter, and there was a tiny slither left, and she asked me if I wanted it. She'd made simnel cake. Simnel, I think. Now, it's for those of you who don't know, it's a traditional Easter cake, and on the top there are 12 or 13, I can never remember. There are marzipan balls all around the top to represent, it's 12, isn't it? The 12 apostles. So I've always avoided simnel cake because I hate marzipan. I don't like Bakewell tarts. Just, you know, if I get a piece of wedding cake, I love the icing, I have to pick the marzipan off. So Sis said to me, would you like a piece? And my first thought was, no, because I hate marzipan. And I thought, do you know what? I'll try a bit. I won't have one of the apostles' heads. I don't need a ball of apostle head. I was serving it up. I said, no, you sit. I'll go and do it. So I was slicing the cake. I said, do you want one apostle's head or two? Oh my goodness, it's gorgeous. If you've never had it, because like me, you hate marzipan, try it. It's blimmin' gorgeous. So it's quite a rich fruit cake, but it's not dark like a Christmas cake would be. It's pale sponge. How would you make the sponge pale or dark? I don't know. I don't bake. All the dried fruit had been soaked in masala. I think it was in masala. So there's a real lovely kick in the dried fruit. Glacé cherries. I love glacé cherries. As I had one, I said to my sister, oh, I love glacé cherries. I could eat them from the pot. She's like, me too. And then there is a little thin, kind of like a stripe of marzipan in the middle, and then some more on the top. But actually, with all the flavours from the dried fruit, the masala, it was really, really lovely. If I'm ever offered simnel cake again, I will be saying, yes, please. I don't want one of the heads, because that's just a whole ball of marzipan. Don't need that. But a slice of the cake, yes, please. That was absolutely gorgeous. Oh, and the other thing, in their kitchen, because I mean, all the times I've visited, I've never cooked in their kitchen. Obviously, I'll go in the kitchen and make a cup of tea for everyone. I know where the kettle and the teapot are, but there was I think, was it the first afternoon? She had to dash out for something, so I said, "Don't worry, I'm gonna have a nosy in the kitchen. Can I open all the cupboards and drawers, find everything, so I can start cooking?" Yeah, no problem. She's got the most gorgeous larder cupboard. It's floor to ceiling, and it's about, cupboard width. You pull it, you open the door, and then inside there are 2 rows of narrowish sort of, they're like wire mesh shelves. So you pull it out, and it's like herbs. Pull out another one, it's all your spices. Pull out another one, it's all your like vanilla essence and rose water and all those things for baking. Pull out another one, and it's all the glacé cherries. I had to stop myself from nicking any. I didn't nick any. Almonds and pine nuts, and anyway, it's just the most glorious cupboard of ingredients. Gorgeous. I looked at it and I thought, maybe in my next place. I don't like uppers in a kitchen. I only like lowers in terms of cupboards. But I was thinking, because I don't do as much, I might do more baking when I move, but I don't do as much as her. Maybe I could get away with a half-size version of that. But having those pull-out shelves, just all these beautiful ingredients. You pull it out and you want to start cooking or baking. It's absolute fab. Right, what else did I want to remember? Hang on, before I get onto that, they have a dog. Oh, he's gorgeous. He's a duck toller. I think the official name is a Nova Scotia duck tolling dog. Okay, so this isn't for me. They're used in hunting. It's for going and retrieving a duck that's been shot. So like our golden retrievers in the UK. So cute. It's ginger, a fluff, just a ball of fluff, but the most beautiful kind of, just the sweetest kind of inquiring face. And what's lovely is they've kind of made a spare room, partly with me in mind, on the ground floor, so there's no stairs for me, and the dog at night stays on the ground floor. So guess what I had in my room every night? Oh, having a dog right next to the bed is one of the most, for me, it's such a comforting thing. It makes me feel safe because I know that if something kicks off, the dog will start barking. You can tell I live in London. If something kicks off, it's not going to kick off on the North York moors. But anyway, yeah, he was curled up right next to the bedside table and the bed, so that if I kind of slightly rolled over and dangled my arm over the side of the bed, I could muzz his fur and all these little sweet snuffles and you know, the dog's dreaming noises at night. It was beyond cute. I love having a dog. Anyway, yes, so whilst I was there, what was interesting was, firstly, on the drive that my cousin's wife took me on, I got off the train at Thirsk in North Yorkshire. It's the station before my sister's, but that's where they live. I had, about 2 years ago, looked at a property online in Thirsk. And it was great. It was a converted carpenter's barn, but it had no outdoor space. So I kind of rejected it out of hand. I'm sort of kicking myself now. But anyway, as we drove through Thirsk, I saw it. It's in one of the most beautiful parts of the town. It's in the posh part, I hadn't realised. On a gorgeous green. I was like, oh. So I think there's a lesson in that, is don't just dismiss things out of hand. And also, if it's somewhere in Thirsk, I can get my cousin to go to and ask her to, can you go and have a look at it for me? Tell me, you know the area, tell me about it. But then on another day, my sister and my brother-in-law and I, we drove up to Saltburn by the Sea, which I know a load of you will know. It's a tiny little town, right. It might not even be in Yorkshire, it might be in Cleveland. It's on the coast, it's kind of a bit wild and windy. Whoa, the sea was crashing the day we were there. The tide was way out, but it was crashing. But I'd looked at a property there back in end of January this year. I looked at it online and I thought, this is it, this is the one. It's perfect. My sister booked a viewing with the agents. I think I saw it on a Friday night. So she booked with the agents to view it on Tuesday, to view it for me. But in the meantime, I think on the Sunday, they'd had a drive up there to have a look themselves. And my brother-in-law has been in the building trade all his life. And he said, don't touch it with a barge pole. There's bad subsidence. So we went and had a look on this trip, and you could see the outside, there's just cracks everywhere. There's windows, like a money pit. In his words, a money pit. I saw it for myself, yeah, a money pit. But it was useful to go, because it's that thing I know folk have been saying, why don't you move up near where your sister lives? And the thing is, the village my sister lives in, I mean, it's gorgeous, but if you don't have a car, you are stuffed. And I do not want to learn to drive. I don't want to bring a car into this world at this stage in my life. I just don't want to do it. You know what? I'm an eco queen. I'm not going to do a car. But yeah, their village, I mean, public transport, forget it. In terms of facilities, shops, I don't think there's even a post office there. There's just nothing. I mean, it's gorgeous, but all of the facilities on my checklist that I've got, that I need, they just don't have it. So I'm open to moving up there towards where she is, but not in her immediate vicinity, because it just wouldn't support me. But yeah, Saltburn by the Sea, Thirsk, those places, they're lovely. Was Thirsk particularly gorgeous because the sun was absolutely blazing that day? I don't know. It is a gorgeous little market square. So we'll see. I'll keep looking. Yeah. So what else? Whilst I was there as well, because they've got the nice big TV and they've got iPlayer and all that. They can put it on their screen. She said, had I watched Magpie Murders? I think it's on a Sunday. It's either a Saturday or Sunday night on Earth Telly. I said no. what's that? She said, explained it. I said, oh, that sounds intriguing. So I thought, Wednesday evening, let's have a watch. So we watched put episode 1 on, and I was immediately intrigued. It's very stylishly shot. It looks more like film than TV. It's a sort of a murder mystery. Well, Magpie Murders, of course it's a murder mystery. But it's a story that's sort of in parallel. There's the real life, she's an editor, but then there's the story of the book that she's the editor of, and they seem to be running in parallel. How many coincidences? So we ran 3 episodes. However, I only saw 2.5. I couldn't keep my eyes open. Not because it was boring, but I think just all the last weeks caught up with me, and it was 9:30. I mean, I'm usually awake till 1, 2, 3 in the morning. 9:30, and I'm head nodding, dribble, whatever. So I just said, guys, I'm going to have to go to bed. Are you okay if I go to bed? Yeah, fine. I went to bed, had the bedside light on, lay down, and I thought, shall I read? No, I'm too tired to read. I'll turn the light off in a minute. And the next thing I know, it's 1 in the morning, the light's still on. I wake up needing the bathroom, light's still on. Anyway, yeah, Magpie Murders, if you get the chance to watch, I don't know how it's going to end. I've got no idea, but it's Leslie Manville in the lead with Michael Maloney. I love Michael Maloney. Beautifully, stylishly photographed, or moving photographs. What's that called? Filmed. Yeah, it's filmed, Vivi. Really intriguing. It just feels like, how to put it, it feels a bit old-fashioned, almost Agatha Christie-ish. I don't know how to put it. I would just say give it a go, because I think visually it's so beautiful, and it's just an intriguing premise. So yeah, looking forward to finishing that. Watching episode 3 again because I fell asleep. I can't remember anything. Yeah, give it a go. What else? Something else. So my brother-in-law is a really keen cyclist, both road and mountain biking. And I don't know how we got onto the subject. I was talking about, was it the mountain biking at the Commonwealth Games last year? They've actually, where the village they live in is the village that has spawned the Tansfeld brothers. Tansfeld, the 2 Tansfeld boys, Harry and what's the other one's name? Can't remember. But yeah, it's a part of the country where a lot of people do their outward bound stuff, fell running. My brother-in-law went fell running on the morning of his wedding to my sister. But yeah, mountain biking, road cycling, a lot of cyclists have come from Yorkshire. So we got talking about it, and I was saying how, I love watching the Tour de France, I love watching all the road races, but what we don't seem to get a lot of on TV is the off-road stuff, the mountain biking. So he mentioned, I had to write it down so I don't forget, he mentioned a cyclist, a mountain biker called Danny MacAskill, M-A-C, capital A-S-K-I-L, Danny MacAskill. Oh my goodness, what an absolute nut job. I love him already. YouTube. I had to go to YouTube to look at this. In particular, if you look up his ride on the Isle of Skye, on the slab on the Isle of Skye. It's like that. It's basically a mountain. He cycles down a mountain. Mad, but wonderfully carpe diem. How far can I push myself? Let's just give this a go. Mad. Brilliant. So I looked at that when I came home, and I'm immediately hooked. Yes, I'm subscribed to Danny's channel. Unbelievable skill on a mountain bike. Not for the faint-hearted. I am terrified of heights, so some of it I had to watch like this. Amazing, amazing, amazing skill. So all in all, absolutely a fabulous, gorgeous visit with my sister. Short, sweet. I can't wait to get back up there, and I hope they'll let me cook again, because that was a joy. A joy for me, hopefully a joy for them to eat it. Just take a break from those kind of things. Yeah, I don't know when my next visit will be, but hopefully before too long. You know, I realised, obviously my sister and I saw each other last summer when we both went down to Kent to go and collect Auntie Teapot. Auntie Teapot went all the way to Yorkshire to my sister. Then she's been handed over from my sister to my cousin's wife I was just mentioning. My cousin's wife, she says good morning to Auntie Teapot every day. Auntie Teapot's on the mantelpiece at the moment, but eventually she'll go to, my cousin has a small wood, a really small wood that's his, he manages. That's where she's going, Auntie Teapot will end up, and in the woods there's also my grandma and my Auntie Heather, my cousin Ben's mum. So yeah, Auntie Teapot, she's in safe hands, she gets talked to every day. I love that. I love that Kate does that as much as I would too. So yeah, I hope to get back there before too long, and perhaps on the next visit we might have an ashes scattering in the bluebell woods moment, although the bluebells won't be there anymore. But yeah, sorry. I was saying to my sister, crikey, it was Christmas just before COVID, so Christmas 2019, that I was last up there with them. Of course, I've seen my sister since. Last summer for Auntie Teapot, the summer before when she came down, and it was the summer when me, her, and her cousin-in-law, my brother-in-law's cousin, we all went to Regent's Park Open Air Theatre. Oh, that was such a great evening. So I've seen her each year. Well, not in 2020. None of us saw anyone, did we? But yeah, I saw her in 21, ending 22, now in 23. I don't want to leave it so long next time. And I've missed going up to see them in Yorkshire. So yeah, looking forward to the next one. Talking of open air, I've just realised what the time is. So I might have to talk about books another time. It's always the way, isn't it? Like my school report always said, if Vivi would chat less, she'd get more done. I'm allowed to chat right now, though, and do less, because I'm just having a sit-down break. Anyway, open air theatre, Regent's Park. Nice segue. There's another show that has been on, I think, BBC Two, second series. The presenter is Sarah Pascoe, who, I don't particularly enjoy her as a comedian, but I really like this series. I liked the first one. It's called Last Woman on Earth, I think. And the premise of the show is she goes to different places in the world. Each episode is a country. And she goes to that country to find out about, experience, look at trades, jobs, crafts which are disappearing. So I guess the last woman on earth, maybe it's like the last woman on earth who can do it. I don't know. Anyway, the first episode, I missed the second, I'll catch it up. The first episode, she was in Greece. So back to that open air thing. And, oh, it's just delicious viewing. If you're a Grecophile, as I am, do watch. She went to see a bell maker, as in, you know, the big bells that hang in churches, dong, dong, not little handbells. And the foundry, I think it's called a foundry, isn't it, when it's bells? I think they said it was something like one of only 3 in the area now. There used to be 150 or so, and obviously we all know it breaks, I think it breaks everyone's heart that loves Greece, the awful financial situation that Greece has been in, the brain drain where all the bright young people are leaving Greece to get jobs elsewhere. I mean, it's been a terrible economic situation. So many businesses have closed, and so she goes to this foundry, and it's one of only a few last ones remaining. Fascinating. One of the places she went to was an open air cinema. And I mean, I loved the whole programme. All the time I was watching it, I could feel my shoulders lowering. I could feel my heart rate slowing, my blood pressure lowering. I was just lapping it, and I adore Greece. I've been so many times. I haven't been for a long time. I'm thinking maybe I need to do some train rides, get myself all the way back over to Greece. But the light, the sounds, all those qualities, they came over in the programme. And she got to the open air cinema, and I can't remember numbers and figures, sorry, but they were talking about how many, say, open air cinemas there'd been 20 years ago to how many there are now. And they're disappearing. And it's one of the things I've always loved in Greece, the open air cinemas. And whenever I've been in Greece, if there's a local open air cinema, you can bet your bottom dollar I'm going to go to the movies one evening. It's such a magical experience. The warmth of the air at night is one of the things I love. I love heat. I love warmth. I'm really not a cold guy. That's why I think twice about living in Yorkshire. It's too cold for me. I know it's only 2 degrees difference between there in London, but anyway, you feel that it's like the air just hugs you, coddles you, loves you, slips over you and caresses you and just makes you feel all gorgeous and juicy inside. The air alone. So to be outside and watching a movie, it's the best treat. One of the films I saw, it's so funny, Cool Runnings. Do you remember that film? I don't know, it's about 20 years ago, isn't it? Might be 30 years ago. About the Jamaican bobsled team. It's like the most random. I think that may be the only English language film that the theatre could afford, so they got it. Loved it. And it made me think of all those other open air experiences like Regent's Park when we went to see Carousel. If you ever get a chance to go to Regent's Park Theatre to see something, if you're in London as a visitor and it's in the summer, do go to Regent's Park Theatre. It's a magical, beautiful experience. But I was also remembering in Greece, of course, some of you may know, the very famous archaeological site, but it still lives and works now, of Epidavros, which is, I think it's the world's largest, most intact amphitheatre. So the seats are built in a sort of cone shape almost into the side of the hill, and then down here is the stage. The acoustics are perfect. You could drop a pin and hear it all the way back there. I won't go on about the archaeology, but I've been to Epidavros. I'm very fortunate. Am I fortunate or no? I worked hard to do it. I've been to Epidavros a few times to see a number of plays. They're always in Greek. Doesn't matter. I don't care. The last one I went to see was Aristophanes' The Birds, and they'd obviously, because I actually got chatting to my Greek neighbour in the seats, it was being presented as the classical production, so set 2,000 years ago, but they'd modernised some of the political references to modern day. The audience were loving it. They were cracking up, howling with laughter. I was howling at the slapstick because I can understand physical comedy. It doesn't need language. But yeah, that's some of my best memories. Some of my best memories are being outside and being entertained, whether it's Regent's Park, one of the others, Brownsea Island, which sits in Poole Harbour down in Dorset. What did we see there? Was it Much Ado About Nothing? Fie, and knit those untamed brows. Dart not those scornful glances at your husband, thy lord, thy king, thy governor. It blots thy beauty as frosts do bite the meads, and is in no way meet or amiable. Yeah, Much Ado About Nothing. Was it? I'm not sure. Anyway, Brownsea Island Open Air Theatre, again, if you get a chance to do it, because it's even more magical, because you have to get on a boat at Poole Harbour. We were on a really little boat that year, maybe 10 of us, with a little pop outboard motor. And you sail across and land on the island, go and see your fantastic production. And then by the time you're going to go pop back across the water, it's dark. and the stars are out and reflecting on the water, and all you can hear is the pop, 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 pop of the engine. And in the distance, on Brownsea Island, where the peacocks are, you can hear faintly in the background. Magical, magical. How did we get onto islands? Oh yeah, because of, it wasn't Much Ado About Nothing, it was Taming of the Shrew. Of course it was Taming of the Shrew. That's why Kate at the end says, "Fie, fie on knit thy untamed brows." Anyway, yes, magical, magical, magical. So, yeah, I don't know how we got onto that. Relish moments. Relish those moments that you get with your family, and even the journey up there are moments to relish. Make the most of every moment, I suppose. That's life, isn't it? And if you ever get the chance, if you get the chance to do something like seeing theatre in the open air, you know what, if it's in your local area, even if it's an Amdram production that you think, oh, it's going to be a bit lousy, you know what, there's something so special about being entertained under the stars. Do it. If you're doing it in the UK, take 2 blankets with you, because when you arrive at 6:30 and you're having your picnic in the summer sunshine, lovely, by 10:30 and you're coming back on the boat, or if it's Regent's Park, you're walking back to the tube, it gets chilly. 1 blanket for around your shoulders, 1 blanket for around your knees, and you'll be grand. Right, I think that's enough. I had something else to say about islands. I've been doing some looking up, because I was wondering, I live on an island. How many islands are there in Great Britain? I'll tell you that next time, or another time. And some books, I'll tell you about those another time too. But I think the next one, we might even get to the garden, or we might clean our baskets. We might do some vintage basket cleaning. Who knows? Que sera, sera. Each day, enjoy. Grab something from it and enjoy it and make the most of it. All right, gorgeosities, I'll see you again soon. I don't know what I'll be doing. We'll be doing something though. Until then, please look after yourselves. Look after each other. Look after your community. Look after strangers. Just look after folk and yourself. Until the next one, cheerio.